All right, here we go again. Buckle up. Rough roads ahead. We'll try to smooth those rough roads out a little bit here today. So I spoke about it before how immigrants were being used by the deep state to kill the lives of U.S. citizens. And then, of course, they're given money, they're given citizenship, green cards. So again, the system is pretty thick. And if you just investigate it, you'll find people. And once you start arresting the deep state people, it will send shock waves through the deep state community. Now, if you go after a certain group of people, and that's it, because all of those people may have been assigned to that case to get rid of when they bring Trump in. So there's people that brought Trump in that used it as a spycraft movement, which means they don't care who's president as long as they can manipulate and get rich off of it and kill U.S. citizens off of it. So Fuentes knows what he's speaking about, but he just doesn't know all of it. No, you're being set up. You're all being manipulated. I try to educate you the best on how it works. Well, because within 2 years you could be boxed in and can't move again. That's what you did the first time. Again, remember when you investigated Biden, what happened? The impeachment, all the mess. Well, it took time and effort and energy. Again, you're billionaires, you make a lot of money, but there is limited energy. Again, being right to be right, they're setting you up. What the thing said was down the road, there's going to be a bunch of cases that are going to launch at the same time, and it's going to be very inconvenient. And we're actually getting to that point. And of course, you knew that was going to happen the first time. And at the end, I'm not telling you not to do the transgender case. I think it's going to be a little different this time. I'm not telling you to not do investigations as to what happened around Trump. But again, it looks like retaliation. Again, plain and simple. I'm just trying to explain to you whoever did it or why you did it, that you have your reasons. But again, it's almost a setup. So there's questions about who everybody is. Well, because what happens is somebody will do it. Again, I guess that person said it was the Justice Department decision, not Trump's. Right. But again, you just don't need it. Again, just because it's not Trump's decision doesn't mean that Pam Bondi's trying to go in front of the Supreme Court for 3 different issues, and now we have to go in front of other judges for other issues. So what that means is the power is a physical, metaphysical thing, but it's a physical thing. Metaphysics is physical, but you just can't see it physical. So the more you have to defend, the less power you have for your other cases. So they're crapping it up. So Bondi comes in there and she's all beleaguered and already encumbered where she didn't need to be. She could have just made it look good. Again, they can file lawsuits and cases, but don't enable it and empower it. Again, when you fire 20 people that work for Jack Smith at the same time, you're sending a message whether you want to or not. And that's how the court will see it. I tried to get you not to do it. I said, focus on investigations. You don't even have Kash Patel in there yet. So you don't even know what's going on. Right. Well, like I said, some of those people were simply assigned to a case. Do you understand that concept? Because the judges know this. Again, the judges are only going to be so friendly. And they can only be so friendly. So you just fired a bunch of people that may have simply been assigned to a case. I mean, that'll probably come out. Well, how did this happen? Did you meet Jack Smith and say, let's do Trump? No, I received an email. It said I'm assigned to that task force. I mean, that's really it. Oh, my God. So, again, what you're setting yourself up for is the same thing that happened the last 4 years. Or somebody's setting you up.
I know you're being psychologically manipulated. I don't even know if you can hear me. Somebody might be blocking this. Well, look, I don't know who Elon really is. I don't think anybody does. Right. But he could be manipulating all of us. He may want Trump to be encumbered, so he needs Elon, and then Elon comes to the rescue, just like, oh, the president asked me to rescue the astronauts. Well, the language that Elon is using is setting Trump and him up for the fall, and all the people under them in whatever co-enabled operation where Elon and the president are together in that operation. These are words that could be used in court against everyone. Because again, of course, Trump's at the top. You can't have your cake and eat it too in court. You can't say Elon's not government. You can't say it. He is government, whether you pay him or not. Of course, he's getting paid all that money over there, and then he gets to decide where the money goes. Even that's going to be questioned. And you have to ask the question is why it's not already in some restraining order court. Because they're setting you all up. Well, maybe he's the vice president. Like they say, again, I'm just trying to help you all understand what you're doing wrong and what he's doing wrong so he won't do it. So again, I don't maybe agree with AFP. Maybe I agree with AFP. I don't know. Free speech exists. I agree with that. But you want to do a Zig Heil, and it's free speech. But when you're a millionaire and a billionaire or a billionaire and you control millionaires and all that, I mean, some of his security people are probably millionaires. And there's questions. There's already allegations about the security people that they're actually an offensive entity, like Weinstein and the spies. You see where this stuff can blow up in a day. Just telling you that. Don't think you see far enough to know what's going on. Now, I know there's a mechanism, like after the election, you don't worry about your favorability because you only have to worry about it at certain points. But I think the world's changed where you do have to worry about it a little bit because you just can't climb up out of that hole as easy anymore. You would need Biden to actually be president to do what you plan probably to do when you get close to governor elections. Well, because like I told you, you're using ultra conservative talking points, but you didn't win the war on ultra conservative. You had it's like the French Foreign Legion. The French didn't win necessarily just on French people. They had a collection of foreigners or a collection of whatevers. So you didn't win the war just by yourself, or like allies and coalition in Desert Storm. So if you lose the coalition, they're not all ultra conservatives. They just have an interest that you had, or that you articulated. Again, I don't even know if you had the interest. Well, because you've already set yourself up for an investigation. 20 Jack Smith employees fired on the same day from the Justice Department set you all up for investigation. They're not going to take it at face value that Trump didn't order it. They're not going to do that. When they get in, they're going to subpoena everything. They're going to sweat your employees. You don't want your employees sweated, but you just made way so that they could be sweated. Well, they may have heard something on a phone call that they relate to the investigator. Because I'm not going down like that. I'm not, I'm not losing my job. I'm not going to jail for false statements. I'm going to tell FBI everything. Or whoever. Independent counsel, whatever it is. Thank you. I'm going to tell you what happened last time. Because that's what you're setting yourselves up for. The same exact thing. Right? But you're emboldened this time. And Donald being Donald needs to slow down because he has to understand that his underlings don't have the protection he thinks, and he doesn't have the protection he thinks he has. Right. And I don't know, you may have calculated where he can't be impeached in 2 years because they can't flip it that easy. I don't know. Right. But it's still, there's an independent counsel who now has way with your Justice Department. You can't fire him. He's there all the time. He'll be there past Trump. It appears to be retaliation. I don't care. You made an appearance of impropriety if you even had, like, I don't think these people, you could have put them on leave. I don't know why you didn't do that. That's what I would have did if you had a concern for their access. Because that's what they'll say. Well, you put these people on leave, you put them on leave. Why didn't you offer them a buyout? I mean, there's so many things you could have done. And again, the buyout may have come about because of that, or may have pushed it over the edge. Say, well, we'll give them an option to leave. Right. Thank you, Larry. Well, because again, remember I talked about Bob and how they made Bob feel comfortable with going to Iran and Turkey. That's what they're doing to all of you. It's spycraft. You're just not. Maybe you're not hearing me. I don't know. Am I blocked? So like Elon's running around laughing, but he's setting himself up, or they're setting him up. But he's also, his actions are setting himself up. Again, there's going to be lawsuits around everything Elon's doing. And because there's a lack of lawsuits, you should be concerned. I mean, viable temporary restraining order type of thing. Injunctions, that kind of thing. Right. They're just giving you enough rope. In fact, like I told you, anybody that talks about me, is actually, I set these people up all the time to be discovered. And again, if the director of the FBI doesn't let them be arrested, then there's nothing, or if it doesn't fire them, there's nothing that can be done. But other agents know who they all are based upon what I do. So anybody that's talking about me in a negative way is most likely deep state, even if they're the biggest MAGA supporter in the world. So you see how that works. There are definitely a certain number of MAGA deep state people, double agent type in MAGA right now. It was the plan from the beginning, right? Or not from the beginning, from the last 4 years, though. Actually, longer than that, from when they killed me. Right? And they actually used Trump administration people to kill me. Actually, Trump administration people had actually been killing me since the beginning, but I still supported Trump. So again, if they want to tell you, well, even if we kill him, you should support us. Yeah, I supported you for at least 3 years. Well, the whole time they were killing me. Right? Not that they didn't give me it up, they were killing me. So again, don't listen to them. And a good sign of somebody being deep state or affiliated with the deep state is somebody that's talking about me in a negative manner. Again, that's what happens to Trump, but you're not going to see it because they're going to do it behind closed doors. Right. So again, that's part of the border operation, that we keep everything clean, or as clean as we can. Because we need to focus on arguing those cases in court versus arguing why some Justice Department career employee fired 20 people for Trump. Is what they're gonna say has happened, regardless of what he says. Right. Again, it'd have been genius to see if they would accept a departure package. Because then you're not sending that message. You're just saying you don't believe that they're capable of doing their job because of their prior work. And then your action says you gave them X amount of dollars to depart. Well, it's clean. Again, just because you want to juke somebody doesn't mean that it's expedient. Believe me, tons of people that tried to do me in life, even when I was asleep, are dead. They just went, and that was it. From a great life to death. It happened. Thank you, Larry. There's even that thing I worked on to try to help the CIA with scanning people overseas. I said, you need to get like a mill van or something size like that, or 2 mill vans or a C van or something, and build inside a blast-proof scanning room. and it's automated. And the person opens the door, goes in, they get scanned, and then if you find something, they're not allowed out until you can investigate it. So if they blow themselves up, it's in a like it's in an isolated area. It's a van. You can fly it around with helicopters, keep it light enough. Right. So even after 7 died, but theoretically, it may have been a little bit about me as to why that happened to them. So it was really strange because I spent a long time trying to push them to create this. I don't know if you see it online or not, but I tried to get them to create a mobile blast resistant, I guess. Proof wouldn't be the word, but because obviously if they detonate in there, it's finished, right? But it's not coming out. So the idea is to create something that can, like those trucks, right? That, again, the one wasn't locked right and it blew up and hurt some people or something like that. But you have that blast enclosure, right? And it's in an isolated location. So you never even walk up to any of them before they're scanned through the scan mill van. And they can't get out. Once they go in, they're locked in until you let them out. So I worked on that after that, but somewhere down the road, they said that, the CIA had been screwing around my life, and then that's when the 7 were killed. Not that there was some point where they didn't, but they had launched some sort of attack. So when those CIA people were killed, I wondered why they were patting them down. I mean, come on, this is what was like 2011 or something. we're walking up and patting them down. You can even have it operate off of a generator, a battery system, solar system, right? All the above. So again, I don't know if they build it. So this Hegseth should look into building that. Essentially, like what TSA does, kind of, but different. Well, it's those panels. Those panels where you can see. Right? I don't remember what the technology is. Might be a CAT scan or something. I can't remember. Or something else. So it's an automated trailer. There's going to be an operator that can look through the cameras and give the instructions. Step inside, place your bags or your suitcase in that box, close the lid, something like that. Well, what you want them to do is if they have a backpack or they have like a suitcase or something like that, you want them to put it in a box that you can lock, and then you can actually scan it better within that box, X-ray it. Right. But you don't want them to get back in there if it contains explosives. Right. So again, the optics are a concern when you put, gunships on a border. Optics are a concern when you move Stryker vehicles. The MRAP, the public is very well accustomed to seeing MRAPs on law enforcement operations. That would not raise to that level. Right. I think, again, we use it mostly on special operations. I think at this point the border is at that level. Right. And when I've looked at the I never really looked at the inside of the MRAP. I never did. And I just looked at it. I was like, wow, marvelous. Right. That'd be great for engineers. I'm sure they use it. That's great. I mean, it's a great vehicle. But for the Border Patrol operations, that would be fabulous. You could put like, 7 people in there or something like that, 7, 8 people. Comfortably. Again, you don't want it too thick. just in case you have to pull up an immigrant up in there or something. We'll have a little space. But the idea is you want to move medics. If you don't move hospitals, you want to move medics, or actually you want to move both. So what we should look at doing is providing depth of medical, at least emergency medical care, like EMT type care. And again, that's the medics. I don't know what level they're certified to and what units they would use and how they would do it. But medics are assigned to a lot of different units. Those military police people could probably have medics assigned to that task force. They could grab, like there's a certain number of medics that are assigned to that company you brought down there. They probably didn't deploy, but you could deploy them. You could grab whatever medics unit was assigned to the military police from Fort Campbell. And, I don't know what the number is, but I guess there's 3 platoons. There's at least 3, maybe 4 of them that are probably deployable based upon that quote unquote task force. So you're building a task force based upon like a support breakdown. So right now, every MP company you deploy, you can deploy medics within the framework of their support network, because it's kind of when the military creates task force for all sorts of things, and when you create a task force, there's an identifiable unit. Hang on, no, I don't got TB. I got postnasal drip. That tuberculosis is in the lungs. So. It used to be easier years ago, the way the division, brigades, and battalions broke down. I don't know why they changed it. They have some reason. So you would essentially have a division. That's one unit. Then you would have your brigades, and the brigades would be broken down in battalions. Right. And then you would have certain number of engineers, certain number of medics, and they're identifiable. Generally, you're assigned to some when you have to support. Like when I went to Egypt, we supported the task force, which was a third of the 5 Deuce, strike and kill. Right. And, there were medics. I think the medics were assigned to the infantry unit. Right. But, but they could actually deploy based upon the engineers deploying if they wanted to do it, though. Again, we had our own medics, too. So, again, you just have to find who's a connected medical entity that would normally deploy with those MPs, and they'll come up with a number and they could deploy them. Right. The more personnel you move to the border, the more medical help you need. I mean, even for COVID, colds, flus, sprained ankles. Right. When I was in Egypt, I got hit in the head with a sledgehammer. That's what's wrong with me. Even that, I should get money for that. Thank you there. Yeah, I got like 3 stitches or something. That's that, like, I think Trump's got the same thing on his forehead. But it looks like almost like a mountain, like a sharp peaked mountain in the middle of between my eyes. Well, again, you're all being psychologically operated. Just tell yourselves that. And that helps you understand what's happening. Again, Satan psychologically operates also. So there could be just this presence. And they're casting spells and all this. I saw a lot, and I'm trying to remember what I saw because I didn't broadcast. I was going to broadcast again earlier, and even in the middle of the night, but I was trying to stay away from broadcasting in the middle of the night. No, I was seeing a bunch of stuff. That's why I'm saying MRAPs. Just do it. Again, I may tell you to deploy MRAP and say, well, we wasted our time deploying MRAP because nobody was ambushed. Well, that may be why nobody's ambushed, and that could be metaphysical, psychological, or physical effect. And maybe all of the above, most likely all of the above. And I know a lot of our stuff was deployed overseas, and I tried to get you all to grab it up before it was deployed. And again, there's a way to carry yourself in a militarized, quote-unquote, vehicle. And not be militarized. I mean, not present that threat that they seek. So again, it's how you carry yourself, things that you say. And again, that's what I'm like, okay, so Christy, Kristi Noem is kind of in, so she's receiving the vibe because she didn't say dirtbag today, and it's okay. We use that language; it motivates, and but she said the worst of the worst, which is less colorful, right? And wouldn't get us in trouble if a pattern is developed. You see, right? Pattern and practice is what it's called. So again, you're developing a pattern of practice of retaliation. And everybody's going to sit back, like, we're getting away with it until they think, okay, this has run its course. Now we hit them with everything. And next thing you know, everybody's subpoenaed. Your people are being sweated. I mean, you don't need it. They're like thinking at me, trying to get me to focus on pain or something like that. They'll be destroyed, believe me. If it takes till they go to hell, then it takes till they go to hell. They're not going to heaven. If they go to church, don't fall for it. I was in churches where people tried to sexualize me, and some were independent Baptist churches. No, they weren't interested in me. They were interested in making another, $1,000 from the dirty PI or cop. Right. Or being forgiven for crimes that they committed. On top of all of it. So we need to find MRAPs. I mean, you may have units out there that have MRAPs, but that unit isn't going to do anything anytime soon. So you might want to move reassign your MRAPs to the MPs that are down there. And again, they could drive them, or Border Patrol would rather they drive and they focus on what's going on. So you could actually do a nice briefing in there, right, before you deploy. That's a great support vehicle. Some have cupolas. Right. Thank you, Larry. And some have vehicle, you can mount a rifle on top. I don't know if you want to go to that, but again, you got to do something. You can't stay where you are. Thank you, Larry. Again, that was my move command. So you need to send me my money. It's very easy. You just go into my VA. It's obvious, if you look at it, I got something from Desert Storm. You find it 100%, and then you send me the money, and then I'll be able to get out of here and move someplace more comfortable. So I suggested military hospitals. Now, Hexet should look into that and see what he thinks. It's probably your National Guard, so you would have to actually activate them. I'm not sure where those deployed funds. There's funds to deploy the National Guard and train the National Guard. You just got to see how much. It's built into their budget. Well, it's just when we start, when they start with the illegals and this, kind of the slang words, that sets a pattern in practice that can harm us in court. I mean, Donald being Donald, he doesn't really, he tries not to go there. Right. He does it a little bit, but he doesn't like you can tell when somebody's getting off disparaging somebody, and when somebody's just, he does it for the campaign stuff generally. Maybe a couple times maybe in private, I don't know. But he doesn't present that thing that we see happening. Like where we say is a pattern of practice of discriminatory behavior. Right. Again, the government, like I told you, Elon and Vivek don't know the government. It's not what they say it is. And in fact, if you look at the special counsel, and one of his jobs is to make sure that nobody, like if you decide that you're not going to carry out an unlawful order and commit a crime for the president or someone else, and they come after you, he actually prosecutes those cases against the people that come after you. So that's just to show you that there is a check and balance in the government, and is expected. Again, professional responsibility classes. That's generally part of what that class is, to tell you you can't do anything you're not supposed to do just because a boss tells you it. They were saying there is no check and balance within the executive branch, that you have to do everything Trump tells you. That's dangerous to say, because somebody might believe that. And then again, a year or 2 years down the road, they end up in a big investigation. Well, it's not looking good, because like I said, most of the people, not most of the people, I don't know what the breakdown is, but Trump was voted in a coalition, and obviously the majority of Islamic people are not ultra-conservative or even conservative. They just weren't voting for Biden. And they, whatever Trump did to sweeten the pot, he sweetened the pot. Or Susie Wiles, whoever it is. So you're moving on your ultra-conservatism, and you're all, having a great time doing it. It's party, braggarts' rights, whatever it is. Right. They're not buying into it. And Trump already said move the Palestinians out of Israel. That's not what they signed on for. I knew what you were thinking by what Statement Analysis said. Trump says all he's going to give them is peace, which means he's going to end the war, but how it ends is up to him. And I knew that was going to be a mess, or whoever. I mean, somebody could be advising him. I mean, I'm not stupid. The way the world works, if Trump says that, he may have received $100 million in donations the next day. But I'm not stupid. Again, the Democrats do the same thing. Right. So I'm not here to tell you, it's not prosecutable, because they don't prosecute it. Right. Right. So I'm not ignorant to the fact that Trump will come out and say something, get $100 million, and then it dies out and doesn't go anywhere. I mean, Trump's savvy on the money, so he's been in this president game for a while now. Even when he was not president, people called him president, and he was doing the president thing. That's the problem. They messed up my life, so I couldn't get inside, and I could imagine what I could do if I was inside, right? I'd probably limit that kind of stuff, because sometimes it does take away from the effort. Again, we need all our power to again, Homan has told you, we don't even, okay, let's say we have the money. Do we actually have the power, the intrinsic power to do it? Because at a certain point in the way, if you run out of power, somebody thinks up a court case and stops you. Or it falls in front of a certain judge and it gets stalled for the next 2 years. Right. See? No, I didn't know this part of that. I've been speaking on something, and I didn't think of it before. Again, Hashem doesn't do it like that. He blocks it sometimes, doesn't just open it up to me. That based upon what we're seeing, or what we've seen in Mexico, there's a sufficient number of people to carry out several operations that could cause mass casualties. Effectively cause mass casualties. And they could inhibit our ability to respond. And I brought that up before. I forget when. What operation was that? I said, election day, right? We needed the ability to go up and over any flash mob. So they used kind of a flash mob technique, but they, militarized it kind of. Right? They do acts of terror based upon flash mobs. And they, pull a semi, they either light somebody else's semi, or they pull a semi in there and they light it on fire in the middle of intersections and things like that. So again, it's one part of Hashem's genius plan of getting the criminals out of here, because these are the most likely people to engage in unlawful enemy combat. That would be an unlawful enemy combatant. So what we're looking at is expelling anybody, and again, not any male over 18 years old or under 15 or whatever it is. I'm not. We're not looking at that, right? What we're looking at is these gangs are more likely to become an unlawful enemy combatant. So again, we're beginning to speak about maybe moving into Mexico and taking on the cartels if necessary. So then that's logical that this comes up because we don't want to move till we know if the homeland is protected beyond a certain point. And again, it could be anybody. It could be a contractor and his construction crew. Right? You know, they think they have a foolproof plan. They do it. They go back to Mexico and they're multimillionaires and they never have to work again in their life. And Elemental protects them. I mean, it's that simple. Would it happen? Could it happen? Yes. Is it likely to happen? No, because we're going to stay ahead of it. Again, it's called staying ahead of the power curve. We were behind the power curve. We're trying to get ahead of it. Again, that's why I'm saying focus. Don't get into the bullshit. There's no reason to fire 20 Jack Smith employees. Maybe you want to send that message, but it doesn't work. It's not expedient. It doesn't work for the larger mission. You're actually taking away from the larger mission. We're going to have to focus on fighting that in court. I would have offered them buyouts. That was, you know, it sucks that it came like a day or two later. They may have gone. I mean, it's okay, yeah, bye. Just give me something. Right. Now, again, the hype is that they are the people that worked on the case against Donald Trump. That doesn't work for a reason to fire them, actually. Because there's people all through the FBI, all through the Justice Department, all through the DEA, all through the EPA, all through the Marshal Service, all through all of these that worked on cases against somebody that may have rehabilitated somewhere in their life and hold an important position somewhere. In fact, there's people in the FBI that worked on the case against Trump years ago. So there is an issue. Again, that's called retaliation. Now, your theory, I imagine, is that you can't trust them not to do something wrong. I don't know if that's a lawfully defensible position. I think that was the theory, that if they were to remain, could we actually trust them to do what they're supposed to do? That's why I told you, investigate it, and anybody you catch in the investigations, then you can get rid of them. I may even charge them. Well, if you develop, you can even put listening device. I think in the workplace it's lawful to put listening device. I have to look. I don't know what the laws are, but I think there's reason you can put in the workplace. You can put listening device because you can put cameras, listening devices, and things like that. Right? I'm not sure how that works, but and I know we can do it in public places, right? So you can probably do it in public places in the workplace. So again, if you develop information that a conversation took place. Again, don't hire somebody to lie. I'm not telling you to do that. Don't do that because that'll get us. Right? But if you develop information that they are speaking about scumbagging Trump's efforts, then you can get rid of them. Again, especially if you have video or audio. That's what I would recommend in that particular type of case. Even a wiretap. I mean, Kash Patel's not even in there, and you've already moved. Well, he has to sit down, and Pam Bondi, both of them have to sit down in a very, make sure it's a secure environment. You go in the DOJ office that Garland once held, there could be listening devices in there. So you need to get your best people in there to look for that stuff, right, before Pam Bondi gets in there. B&B cameras. Regular. So you actually have to sit down and strategize. I mean, you're using a technology that really doesn't exist. Could you survive? Yes, but why try? I guess you would call it retaliation technology. I don't know what your reasoning is. It sounds like that's what it was, and it's just there's an appearance of impropriety. So, well, in the government, it exists. You can walk into the courts and use those terms. Well, because it's part of the code of conduct in the Justice Department. So again, they could say, well, look, they can't even do that, and they did this. I mean, what are they doing? That's an appearance of impropriety. They violated the code of conduct there even. Well, you just can't do it, and you can't do it again. And maybe Bondi and Kash Patel are blessed in that they're not in yet, and the mistakes are being made now, and I can speak on it. You're not even, as a Justice Department employee, you're not even allowed to make it look like have it by happenstance. Look, you got to be afraid of even by happenstance looking like retaliation. That's the reality. But see, you may not care, and you think you're protected, but once it gets in court and somebody brings that out, there'll be a lot more questions. Well, they say simply, this is your requirement. Why are you there? You're telling me that you had to worry about this, but there's an appearance of impropriety, so how do you go about it? There's another way to do it. That's could a judge could say, you could have did it a different way. I'm not sure what you're all doing. It doesn't make any sense. Because then they'll say, that's what makes it look like retaliation. Because there are so many other ways to do it, but it wouldn't have the same kind of message of retaliation. Now, to your credit, Biden did something similar. Not as big, though. Not as public. And again, I think he fired one by one. Is generally how he did it. You see? Thank you, sir. I remember a couple agents. But again, I don't understand those agents and why they did what they did. Again, appearance of pride and propriety being what it is. It wasn't worth it. Well, again, why am I going to hold, if the political world is such, why would I hold Donald Trump to a higher status? In fact, I told people that things are going on and it needs to stop. But again, nobody stopped it. That's fine. I spoke about it on years, how they're lying to the public and making money off it, and that's called fraud. But again, if nobody prosecutes it after like 10, 20 years, I mean, obviously you don't want to prosecute it. Well, again, loyalty is illegal. It really is. Loyalty to a president in the way that you're all, again, pattern and practice, trying to move is illegal. So you're sitting there and you're living large, and Elon, he's so manic, I don't even know what he's on or not on. Is that just life for him? But it's not real. It's fleeting. You're being set up. Spies are really good at that. And I think I said, I don't think I've said this. I'm going to say this again about Elon. So Elon shoots the Zig Heil, two of them, and looks like deranged Himmler in the face while he's doing it. Right. Then he sports AFP and he does something different. On the outside, you could draw a conclusion, but you can't. Again, I'm not going to sit there and say what he did, because there is free speech. What he did with the AFP was a little more centrist, a little less holocaustic. That's a good word, holocaustic. So again, maybe we don't want him there because of the nexus that could be drawn, but he's just like a cheerleader there, right? So that's okay. No, he looked pretty deranged to me. Those weren't just Sig Heils; they were deranged Sig Heils. Like, how many Jews you putting in the oven today? That's what it looked like to me. Now, just in case you don't know, I'm Jewish. Right. Thank you, Larry. Now, it could have been all about Sam Altman, because Elon's that deranged sometimes. He could have been directing that at Sam Altman. And again, why he worries about that, it sounds so... I mean, you're the richest man on earth, and you're going to worry about Sam Altman and Larry Ellison. I mean, get out of here. I mean, it's like so stupid. Like, he really believes this shit, like he worked hard in his life. He believes it. He actually believes he worked hard. I was in the mind with, I think, it may have been Larry. I don't know. I got inside, so sometimes I'll say it's Larry Ellison. And Larry Ellison may not know he's talking to me. I have that ability. And God has that too, just to let you all know. God talks to all of you outside of the physical existence in your soul form on the inside, so it's pretty funny. And he can talk to you at different levels of you and experiment and say, oh, this is the guy, Larry. I need Larry more. But he essentially, oh no, I guess Larry Ellison may have been there, but what's that guy's name? Lutnick. Right? I saw on the Lutnick side. And Lutnick says, I don't say certain things I know the system made me. I know there's a system that made me. And yeah, I work, but I know a system made me. So I'm not, he doesn't, like, with Elon, he's okay with Elon, but Elon is this idea that he worked hard, like the system didn't make him. Right? It's not a real system. We do not live in a world that's equal or fair, and I don't know if we ever will. Right? And again, of course, a certain level of discrimination, I brought this up, is just inherent to all of us. Right? That's where Jesus says that he's not good, only God is good. Because God is not like that. That God is the only being that's not like that. Oh, again, if we get outside of the physical existence, we may actually, I think our soul form is like that. Right? But I think it was Lutnick, and I think, because I said Larry Ellison, it may have been like several thoughts together, several people. But he knows a system made him. And without that system, he may have been rich, but not as rich as he is, and not as powerful as he is. So Elon comes along like he's a self-made billionaire, and he's not. Even if it has nothing to do with his parents and that part, a system made him. Right? And in fact, he turned on one of those systems. It's so funny. That's why some people are angry. He got their money and then branched out into something else. Right? Right. Now, without that system, maybe he'd be, he probably has enough history in his family and in schooling, education to have been a multimillionaire. 1%. Well, I don't know who. It could have been 10 billionaires for all I know. But again, Larry Ellison and Lutnick came up. And again, they may not even know they're talking to me. And the idea is that they're not really down on poor people because they know all it means is the system didn't accept them and take them up. Right. They're not here to say, hey, they're self-made to a certain degree, but they're not deceived into the fact that something helped. Or not deceived that something didn't help them, I guess. Again, even if you think it's networking or something, how did that happen? Right. So again, it's good to, again, maybe that's what Elon needs, a little bit of more self-realization, a little bit more introspection. Well, again, I bring up, so what are we actually fighting here? Again, that's what you have to ask yourselves. Are you going to go over the line and become deep state? You have to ask yourselves that. So you don't, maybe so you don't become it. But The Democrats have a system, and it says it's uplifting poor people, and they do feed more poor people. But what happens is they've created a big business out of that. Right? So they're self-enriching with money that was meant for something else. And if I believe the government should continue in those programs. But if it gets to a certain point, I'll say the government needs to do it. But again, zero tax bill and everything. Again, Elon came out and said there should be no zero tax bill. Again, I agree. Unless maybe certain criteria is met. So we can give them deductions, because people love deductions. You know, Trump doesn't want to be the hated man that got rid of the zero tax bill. But that deduction should be aligned with certain national interest. Which means you can deduct only to a certain, like there should be a minimum tax. Unless, so like I said, if you buy, say we're trying to boost a certain business, and again, this is a form of subsidy, and I guess he didn't want it, but again, it's better than tariffs, really. So let's say we want to increase the number of tractors. I don't know, John Deere's may go overseas now, I guess, or something. But we want to increase the number of tractors built in the United States. You buy that tractor, you'll be able to deduct a certain portion of that tractor. That kind of thing. I thought this was already known, but you know, we have to re-educate people because the deep state twisted the United States so much, nobody remembers how we did it and who we are. Very simple. I mean, it's stuff I thought everybody knew. We could even, we could say you invest $100 in universal health care. And again, universal health care is not the enemy. How it was run was the enemy. Right? Because without it, it costs us more money. That's why we do it. You just don't see it or understand it. So let's say you donate $100 to universal health care. I would allow maybe even a $200 deduction. Just think about how many people might start thinking of doing that. And then we have it funded. So what's happening, I don't know what the mechanism, President Trump's in there and my mind's opening up again. I can see these things. Maybe it's because I'm sitting at home and they haven't been in here to drug me. I don't know. I believe I was drugged over the last so many years. Right. I'm not going out like I used to. I'm still, I feel fine kind of, and I'm recovering. But I'm trying to also go through a little bit of physical therapy. Now, I'm going to go to this because it's very interesting because I spoke on this and a lot of people maybe don't understand or they don't believe it. So I get back into, think about tuberculosis and TB in Kansas, in northeast Kansas. Did you hear anything about that before I started doing my massages? No, you didn't, right? Even though it's been here for a year, right? Right. So you see how it works. Because you have people like James Comey and McCabe, people that are high-powered in government, cursing my massages. They're devils, demons, antichrist, witches, and sorcerers. All these people in the Justice Department cursing my massages and my physical therapy just so I'd be in pain and stuff like that. Right. They're that anti-powerful that they could cause a tuberculosis outbreak while I'm trying to go get massages. That could have actually triggered COVID because they were fighting me hard. I had so much pushback. I could barely get to a massage when I got to Texas. I probably would have had 3 or 4 more massages had there not been so much stalking and pushback. Again, pushback isn't necessarily something you see. It can just be there, and you can't get to it. Right. It doesn't have to be somebody physically stalking me. But again, they're devils. Now, there's plenty of people who worked hard in this country, got nothing. I'm one of them. Even when they shit on me, I said, I'm going to still work. Because I'm with God and we're going to do our work. So like something weird just happened. I had custom orthotics. My feet were scanned. That was supposed to happen in Amarillo like 4 years ago. But their scanner was down, and I couldn't get to any other person to do it. I mean, it could be that just the Republican Party is in, and I'm actually big in the Republican Party no matter what you all try to do to me, which may be why people killed me out. You know, a lot of times they go for the power person so they can be the power person, but then you destroy the power, and it's Satan versus real power, which, you know, we could say that's true about a lot of churches. Right. So, you know, actually the trans people, as far as religion, the trans people and the gay people are red herring kind of. Well, if you don't understand sin technology and how it works, right, it'll confuse you. And I have additional information. Again, I have the information for the end times. I'm that angel, theoretically. Well, again, I told you years ago, before it really got to where it did, I said, the more you focus on it, the bigger it's going to be. Let those people live their lives, go live your life. And he just kept focusing on it. And it grew and it grew and it grew. No, I'm convinced that people are, you know, influence is something I spoke about early on, even independent of trans people. There's inappropriate and maybe even criminal influence in some of those cases of people becoming trans. And of course, they could be casting spells. You could walk into a trans organization, or what was it, a trans gathering, or be online in a chat room, trans chat room, and then walk out trans. Now, some of that's inherent. So again, it happens in churches in a different way. Like, it's just social. Some of it just happens by that social connection. Again, that's why they say, you know, don't connect to trans people because you'll become trans. It's quite possible. I mean, it just really is. But, you know, don't hang out with trans people. Again, the Bible does say stuff like that. Right. But again, sometimes that's where it takes you in life. Right. No, I don't hang out with trans people. I've probably only knowingly seen like 4 of them or 5 of them, you know, in my life around me. But I was told there's more. I just don't know it. Right. But again, if you want to live that life, then you got to give them their way. It's just the way this stuff works. And again, I don't, you know, any inappropriate way, any wrong way is understood. Well, because it's the way the United States is built. I'll get back to it in a sec. Well, on second thought, stay peaceful. Praise God in all that you do. Praise God. I'll get back to a second. I'm going to come offline here. It's about an hour. I'll speak to you in a bit.